Welcome back. I'm your host, Renata, a creativity coach for neurodivergent and multi-passionate women of color. And in this show, we talk about all things creativity as it relates to our self-discovery and healing journey. Let's get started. In today's show, I want to talk to you about a really common experience that many of us go through as we start to attempt to show up for ourselves and our creativity. And that is the issue of feeling like creative self care doesn't feel easy, doesn't feel fun at first, and what we can do about it. Because if you have been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you know that I often talk about the benefits of showing up for ourselves creatively and how much joy and fun and ease we can experience. But the reality is that many of us may not experience that ease and that joy and that fun at first because we've been out of practice. You may start wondering, am I doing this wrong? Why am I not having fun as I'm doing this? Renata said that I was supposed to be having fun and I'm not. Or you may be wondering if there's any point to even showing up if you're not going to enjoy yourself. I want to answer all these questions and talk about why this happens so that we can set realistic expectations for ourselves and we continue to create even when we have days when it feels like we are not making any progress and truly get to the point where we can start to see the benefits of creativity. If this sounds interesting, please keep listening, keep watching if you're on YouTube, and let's get into it. One of the first things that you may experience as you start to attempt to create is this feeling of overwhelm. And this may stem from feeling like you want to do everything or not knowing where to start. This is such a common experience for neurodivergence, ADHD, ADHD, because we are interested in a lot of different things. We want to do it all. And it just feels like there's so much ground to cover that it's overwhelming, and you may start overthinking and you may realize that by the time you make a decision the time has gone by and it's time to wrap up. And this can be so frustrating because we are already making such an effort to show up that it sucks to feel like you didn't make the most out of it. Another common struggle is not being able to shut down our brain when we want to create. And this is really normal because when we haven't been doing this, the tendency is to constantly be thinking about everything that we have to do. And all of us are holding on to so much these days between our responsibilities, our work, and wanting to take care of ourselves. So it's really normal to feel like it's hard to stop thinking about all of that, which is why I say that we have to create a habit, because this isn't something that you're just going to do once and get it right. You have to keep showing up to see the benefit long term. And I know this is not the sexiest thing that we want to hear because we want easy answers and we want to get the benefits of everything, but it does take time. And the other thing that happens too, kind of around the same lines, is that sometimes, let's say that we are sitting down to create, but we want to put on a song or like a podcast, something to have in the background. And we can also get distracted by that. We can spend a lot of time trying to pick the right music or pick the right movie. And by the time you figure something out, you have to wrap it up. And so this can really become a roadblock. But hopefully, now that I'm bringing this to the forefront, you can get a sense of what to expect and not be caught off guard. And I think a lot of the things that I'm talking about really do apply to any habit that you want to build. But today we obviously are talking about it in the context of creativity and self care. Now, let's talk about the next thing that may be showing up as you attempt to create and you get past that initial resistance that I was just talking about. And that may be that you don't feel like you're having fun or enjoying the process. So you may feel like everything that you're doing feels clunky, doesn't feel smooth, it doesn't feel natural. And you may be inadvertently judging yourself. You might look at your attempts as silly and childish, and that may make you uncomfortable. You may feel like you have to force yourself to have fun because that's what you hear is supposed to happen, but it doesn't feel natural. And this is really normal because you haven't been creating anything. And this is why I have a whole separate program where I support clients to get back in touch with play, because this is something that we really do forget as we grow older, as we become adults. But the great news is that this is something that we all know how to do because we were all kids at once. But we do need a space where we feel like we are not going to be judged, where we are going to be encouraged to play, that we don't easily get in our day-to-day life when we are on this journey to get back in touch with ourselves. Another really common thing that comes up as we start to create is not liking what we make or feeling like everything we're creating is crap. We may be judging any attempts at creating with a really harsh and judgmental lens. This is a very normal experience because so many of us are coming into our creative practice with a very loud inner critic that is very judgmental, that is very critical. And it's normal that we are not able to turn it off at first because we are not used to knowing how to turn it off. So if you show up and this is happening for you, I want you to know that this is not unique to you. This happens to so many of us. And it's normal that we judge ourselves really harshly at first because, again, we need that space to relax and learn to appreciate what we create. But it takes time. Don't let it discourage you. The last thing that I want to share that is also a very common experience is feeling like your creative time is a waste of time. This is really to be expected. Like I've been talking about this whole episode, it's normal to feel like if I don't get immediate results right away, then I must be doing something wrong. This must be a waste of time. So I'm just going to quit. You should not follow this train of thought, but just know that this is normal. And I think this happens across the board, whether you're starting a new habit or wanting to change something in your life. There's going to be that resistance, but we can't listen to that because we know better. And I really want to normalize this experience because this is going to happen. And when it does, I hope that you can just step away, take a break, and come back to your creative habit, because this is just going to be one of those roadblocks that you have to move through, but it's not a reason to stop. So now that I've talked about a lot of these issues that may be coming up, what can we do if we are struggling? Here are some reminders to support you along the way. One, understand that all these different struggles are very normal. And once we have awareness of it, we can work with them. So this should not come as a surprise. If you listen to this episode, the next time you have a crappy creative session, know that this is totally expected, especially as you're starting to create. Number two is to understand that showing up counts no matter whether you have good results or bad results. Keep showing up and know that you will see the benefit long term, but you have to be persistent. Number three is don't put pressure on yourself. Don't try to force yourself to have fun and relax. Let yourself explore, let yourself be curious, and let that be your guiding star along the way. Finally, to recap, today we talked about some really common experiences that you may face as you start to make time for creative self-care. And I also gave you some suggestions of things to keep in mind as you experience these things so that they don't hold you back from creating. The key takeaway is to continue to show up regardless of getting immediate results or how you feel in the moment. Showing up for yourself can still be valuable if you're willing to get curious about your creative practice. If you like this episode, please subscribe and like if you are watching on YouTube. Also, sign up for my newsletter. This is the best way for us to stay connected and for you to be the first to learn about my latest offerings. And if you would like to explore ways to start infusing creativity into your daily routine, whether you're starting to reconnect with your creativity or need help establishing a nourishing creative habit, I would love to help. Sign up for a 30-minute discovery session and let's explore how to get started. I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you on the next one. Until then, stay creative. Bye.